I am about to unload some huge numbers on you. Please try not to let your eyes glaze over and your ears grow shut. Once again, my subject is the federal deficit, because it hit a new and troubling high. First, though, there is this thing called the GDP, the gross domestic product. In simple terms, the value of all the goods and services produced throughout the country. And we, and those who govern us, borrow far too much money when compared to that GDP. At the end of last year, the debt held by us, the public, stood at 79% of GDP. That alone is a number that should trouble us. As individuals, it shows we're spending way more money than we actually have. But compared to our federal government, we're a bunch of pikers. Through the end of last month, Washington had taken in just a tad over $3 trillion in tax revenue. But spending had topped $6 trillion. For reference, a trillion is a 1, with 12 zeros after it. So our federal government is in the hole to the tune of 3 of those trillions for the first 11 months of its budget year, and that is an all-time high. The cost of financing that debt, in other words, the interest Uncle Sam pays to close the gap by borrowing, is actually down 10% this year, to a measly $484 billion. The lower figure due to interest rates this year as the country went into recession. Let's make another effort to put those big dollar amounts into perspective. $1 billion in $1 bills weighs in at 10 tons. So, our government is spending to pay the interest on its debt, are you ready? Money that weighs 4,840 tons. Back to the GDP. The Congressional Budget Office estimates by the end of this year, the amount of government debt will equal 98% of that total economy. Next year, it will exceed 100% of the gross domestic product. The last time that happened was during the big government buildup in the 1940s to pay for fighting World War II. How did we get here? In part, we're all to blame because far too many of us speak of government money, ignoring the fact that it is all our money that was taken from us in the form of taxes and fees. That's why we should be mad as hell at the way it's being managed by those we elected to do our business in the nation's capital. They are, of course, continually besieged by lobbyists for this cause or that, demanding a share of the federal pie. And if there was ever a place where the squeaky wheel is quickly greased, it is in the halls of Congress. Meanwhile, we wheels who make no noise go largely ignored. We just foot the bills. It's way past time for voters to get educated about what spending their representative has approved and to hold them accountable for that action. While a lot of folks dither about potential threats to this nation from outside, the deficit and borrowing numbers clearly show a far greater danger is that it's being destroyed from within. Nobody, including the federal government, can continue overspending without the devil inevitably demanding his due.